Hello, fellow cat enthusiasts. My name is Dr. Kara Caldwell, and I've been a cat-only vet since 2011 in the state of Connecticut. One of the bigger things I've been asked about lately is pet insurance. So today we're going to talk about that. Is it worth it? How it works and how it differs from human insurance, and questions you should ask before purchasing it. Pet insurance can be worth it if you're very informed on what to look for before purchasing it, and you purchase it before a problem is noticed. The cost of veterinary care is rising due to the rising costs of utilities, medical supplies, and pharmaceuticals. Also, more technologies are becoming available to you and your pet, such as CT scans, MRIs, laparoscopic surgeries, chemotherapies, even some of the newer heart drugs like rapamycin are now becoming available. Pets are living longer than they ever used to, which is a great thing, but that means that the cost of owning a pet has also gone up for that individual. There's also the vet shortages that have been going around, and the cost of vet school that's driving up their salaries to keep up with the cost of living that's rising for everyone. And of course, corporations are buying up mom and pop places, making it less flexible for us to extend discounts or other ways of financing the care to you than we used to be able to do. According to a Gallup study, 94% of veterinarians reported that the cost of care is a major barrier to providing care to their pet that they would have otherwise. And I would agree with that. I would say cost is probably the number one thing that I'm seeing in the practice as far as people being able to afford the care that we're recommending. For this reason, vet schools are starting to teach something called spectrum of care, which is a good thing, and it's something I've practiced for years, it just never had a name. So that means that we offer things that are considered standard of care, but if you and your family can't do that economically or don't think it's right for your pet, we then offer other options that are still reasonable things to treat your pet. For cases like that, or any case, insurance can be helpful to defray veterinary costs. You still have to pay the vet up front in most cases, so it's still very important to have a savings account or to consider applying for financing such as Care Credit. Care Credit's a third party that has 0% financing over 6 months, at least that's their current promotion, that allows you to pay back bills set over a slow period of time. They also happen to cover dentals for humans, just so you know. Pet insurance works similar to human insurance in that there is a deductible that you do have to meet before it starts to kick in and pay for things. There also may be an annual limit, meaning it may only pay you back up to, let's say, the first $10,000 during the current year. Pre-existing conditions are not covered. I don't know of any company that definitely will cover a pre-existing condition. What that means is in your adoption paperwork, if the adoption paperwork says that they heard a kitten murmur, even if it says it then resolved, the insurance company may not cover a murmur if it's heard later in life. That's a question to ask the insurance company, just in case that happens. There's also things like waiting periods. So average would be about a 14 to 30 day waiting period. The reason why insurance does that is so that if your pet breaks their leg, you don't go online and purchase the insurance and then go to the vet. They often will have a waiting period, so that's something to read before you purchase it and know. Things that you should ask when you're looking into pet insurance. Are wellness items covered, such as vaccines? Are all vaccines covered, such as distemper, rabies, and leukemia? Are annual blood work recommendations covered if your pet isn't ill? If your vet recommends annual dental cleanings, would those be covered? Flea and tick prevention, such as Revolution or Frontline, would that be covered? Or heartworm preventatives, such as HeartGuard, would any of those things be covered since they are considered prevention? Are predisposed illnesses covered? So for example, Maine Coons are more predisposed to developing heart disease. A Scottish fold, the thing that makes them really cute with the foldy ears, that also is a cartilage problem, so they tend to develop arthritis earlier in life. Persians are also predisposed to polycystic kidney disease genetically. So it's important to ask these things if you have a pet who is a pure breed. If a disease shows up on one side, will the other side be covered? So for example, a cat that develops glaucoma in one eye will very often develop glaucoma in the other eye. So it's very important to ask that. Some insurances will cover the first eye, but not the second eye. Are dentals covered? If they aren't covered for regular cleanings, will they then be covered if there's a problem noticed, such as feline oral resorptive lesions or stomatitis? The average cost of a dental, if extractions are needed, is between $1,000 to $2,500 depending on where you live. Another question might be, are prescription diets covered? A new study came out that showed that prescription therapeutic kidney diets, the cats that eat them tend to live longer with their kidney disease than cats who don't. And the average cost of a 24 3-ounce pack of the kidney therapeutic diet is $65 right now. And a 4-pound bag of the food is $39. The food can be very expensive, and most insurances don't cover therapeutic diets, so it's something to ask. Another question is, are medications covered? Let's say your cat has high blood pressure and needs medication, or your cat is hyperthyroid and needs thyroid medication. If they are covered, are ones that are obtained at human pharmacies covered? Or if your cat is like most cats and doesn't like taking their meds, and you need to get a different form that's not available. So for example, methimazole, if it needs to be compounded into what's called a transdermal formulation, where there's a lotion that you rub on the inside of the ear and it absorbs into the skin, those have to be compounded for the individual. Will your insurance reimburse you for that cost because there is a commercial product available? How insurance works as far as the back end of things, what you don't see. You pay the vet up front. Insurance will then ask me for my medical notes. And there's a vet on the insurance side who reads my notes and decide what is covered. Unlike in human medicine where I have a form to fill out, or where they would have a form to fill out with actual medical codes and saying like, you have this disease, we ran this test for this reason, those kinds of things. We don't have that on the vet side. So if your claim is denied and you feel that that is an error, ask your vet to write an appeals letter. I've had maybe a 50% success in getting a denial overturned. So let's talk about some examples of insurance and how it ended up working out for that pet. The first one I'm going to go over is a cat with chronic disease. So a 1-year-old domestic long hair, healthy at the first visit, came in to see me. The owner ends up paying, in our area of the country, $800 in premiums for the first 6 years of the cat's life for an illness insurance, but never uses it. Year 7, I hear a heart murmur, and I recommend full lab work, blood pressure, and an echocardiogram, which is an ultrasound of the heart. The lab work would cost around $350, the echocardiogram is around $1,000, and based on the results of the echocardiogram, x-rays are recommended. X-rays cost around $400 in this hypothetical example. It is then recommended to follow up with x-rays, echocardiogram, and lab work every 6 months. So even with a $500 deductible, your insurance would end up being worth the cost, although you didn't use it for those first 6 years. So some quick math. Those first 6 years cost you $4,800, and then you have the $500 deductible. But now, the heart murmur is not a pre-existing condition, and the recommended diagnostics going forward are going to be covered, and your cat has a life expectancy of at least 8 more years. So going forward, even if you subtract the deductible and the ongoing cost of your insurance, the cost of those diagnostics far outweigh what you end up paying for the insurance in the long run. In another example, an acute case. We had a cat come in for a possible missing tooth that was noticed at home. Had not gone to the vet in the past due to being perceived as healthy. He was young at the time. And in hindsight, the owners reported that he snored when he slept. They did have insurance since their adoption exam at the shelter more than 2 years ago, when he was deemed healthy, was performed, and they kept up on their premiums since then. He did have a missing tooth, and he had significant periodontal disease, and we recommended a dental. However, the cat also had a significant middle ear infection in both ears, and actually a polyp or a benign mass in one ear, and that was what was causing the cat to snore. If that was continued to be left untreated, that cat would have ended up with pretty major neurologic problems later in life. We recommended they go see a board-certified surgeon, as that is a pretty delicate surgery to perform. And the cat ended up having a CT scan and surgery on both ears to rectify the polyp as well as the middle ear infections. The cost for the CT scan, the surgeries, the biopsies, and all the aftercare ended up being around $15,000, and about 80% of that was covered. Those owners would not have been able to afford that surgery without insurance. In this case, routine care may have caught at least the infections early before a very expensive surgery became necessary. So routine care is still very important, even if you only have illness insurance. So keep that in mind, whether or not you carry insurance. If you need help affording veterinary care, I will provide you a list of websites and organizations that may be able to provide assistance. We are not directly affiliated with any of these groups and recommend fully investigating each option. If you want to give to a local organization to help people afford veterinary care so they can keep their pet, ask your vet. We often work closely with quite a few organizations and can recommend a few that do good work. So in conclusion, is pet insurance worth it? I would say yes. Back in the day, I used to tell you to just have the savings account, then you wouldn't have to worry about the pre-existing conditions, whether or not something would be covered, etc., etc. But now, if a $10,000 bill, or even lower than that, $5,000 bill, would wipe you out financially, you should look seriously at pet insurance as an option for you in case something happens. It's just very important that you do it while they are still healthy, so while they're young, while they don't have those pre-existing conditions, so that you can make sure whatever it is that is found would be covered going forward. If you have insurance, please comment below about your experience with it. I don't get to see a lot of testimonials on that end of things because I'm not involved in whether or not things are covered and whatnot. So please comment below, help out your fellow viewers as far as if you had good experience, bad experience, any companies you may specifically recommend. I have heard of Lemonade, Trupanion, MetLife, all of those I have worked with and I've heard relatively good things about, but I don't have a specific company to recommend because I am not part of the whether or not things are covered process. So it would be great to hear from you as the consumer whether or not things are covered and what your experience has been, and if it's helped save your cat's life.